Greetings, Captain. Welcome to Stowbutter's Elite TFO training for Guillotine. As usual, we'll start with objectives.
The first objective is to destroy the 10-dimensional conveyors in the Unicomplex. Second, deploy the 6 stitching anchors and defend them until they are fully shielded. The Borg can disable no more than 3 anchors during this stage, or the mission will fail. Next, destroy all Borg assimilators attempting to escape during this stage. If even one escapes, the mission fails. Lastly, once all anchors are deployed and shielded, defeat the 2 tactical cubes.
Thank you. On to risks and rewards. This TFO needs moderate to high coordination to play well on Elite, with all optionals and without dying. It is possible to complete in a public group, but a tank is usually needed for deathless completion, and it is difficult to coordinate stitching anchors. Enemy threat level is moderately high, as Mirror Borg will drain shields and deal a decent amount of damage, and there are many Borg ships. Since these are Mirror Borg, their spheres can also self-destruct with a 4-kilometer radius for significant damage. This TFO awards a moderate to high amount of Omega or Fleet Marks, along with a chance for subspace comm power pieces. Lastly, this operation is of moderate length, depending on how quickly your team can deploy and defend the stitching anchors, at around 8 minutes besides briefing for a coordinated high DPS team closing all the anchors simultaneously, or around 12 minutes for a team that takes the anchors in pieces. The adversaries on this operation are Mirror Borg. The most notable difference between Mirror Borg and Prime Universe Borg is that their spheres can self-destruct when low health. Just like their Prime Universe counterparts, Mirror Borg vessels have a powerful shield drain ability, so encounters with them need to account for low shield uptime. Significant enemy damage is expected. The key part of this operation is the second stage, as the first and third stages are straightforward. Once the stitching anchors are ready in the second stage, gauge your team's ability. Since there is no maximum timer on the stitching anchors or the overall TFO, your team can choose based on their ability if they can handle covering them all simultaneously, or if they need to take them in stages. High-end, coordinated teams can have 2 players float in the middle, sweeping enemies emerging from the Unicomplex, and defeating any assimilators to prevent them from escaping. One of these players should probably be a tank, since this will have the highest threat level, and ideally a DPS-oriented or heavy tank. That leaves 3 players to each defend 2 of the stitching anchors, which is very doable if you have high-end coordinated players. For example, ships capable of doing 500k or even 300k on ISC are probably fine. Ships with less damage will want to adopt a different tactic. For less capable or uncoordinated teams, we recommend that you only deploy 3 of the anchors at a time. This will slow down the TFO somewhat, by about 4 to 5 minutes, but reduces risk of failure, as 3 players can each cover a stitching anchor, while the other 2 focus on the middle and assimilators. Remember that none of the assimilators can be allowed to escape or the mission will fail. In this video, we will demonstrate the strategy of deploying only 3 stitching anchors at a time in the second stage. If you would like to see how a high-end coordinated team can deploy all 6 anchors and defend them, as well as prevent assimilators from escaping at the same time, please see our single target energy video of this same TFO. Torpedo builds are moderately effective on this TFO, as there are numerous high hit point targets. However, virtually everything of note has significant shields, and the large numbers of smaller targets don't exactly lend themselves to continuous salvos of torpedoes. In the opening stage, engage the Mirror Borg, focusing on the larger targets like assimilators and the cube first, then moving to the conveyors, which are marked with a red symbol. Typically, teams will clear all opposing enemies before the conveyors are destroyed, which leads to some waiting for new conveyors to respawn. In this run, we chose to split the team up to cover basically all of the anchors simultaneously, since we had 5 players but only 3 coordinated on Discord, so we couldn't trust the other players to not activate the remaining anchors. Due to high enemy damage, it's a good idea to eliminate Mirror Borg near the anchor, then deploy it. We kept our heavy tank in the middle to reduce the number of Borg vessels approaching the anchor. Once deployed, I move back and forth between two anchors, and this run anchors 5 and 6 to keep them active. At one point, I left my position to engage 2 different sets of assimilators, since we were concerned about having enough time to prevent their escape. Assimilators must be prioritized, since a single one escaping results in mission failure. As a torpedo build, this should be one of your focuses, unless there's the danger of the Borg disabling too many of the anchors. As you can see, Anchor 4 was fully disabled by the Borg, which slows down the TFO considerably as all progress is reset. This particular run would have benefited from a partial deployment strategy, rather than having Anchor 4 get halfway and then reset, as the Borg cannot be allowed to disable 3 or more anchors, or else the mission fails. Once the stitching anchors are fully shielded, you no longer need to defend them, which, if your team is doing a partial deployment strategy, frees you up to deploy the next one. Simultaneous deployment strategies should have their anchors shield around the same rate.
The shield of stitching anchor 6 is fully energized. Observe. Something is disrupting the stitching network.
Once all the anchors are fully deployed, engage the tactical cubes. For best results, the team should focus on one at a time. Be careful of fleeing assimilators that linger in this stage, as they can still cause the mission to fail. Shield off lines like tachyon net drones can speed up the destruction of the tactical cubes considerably, as both are heavily shielded and torpedoes have significant damage penalties when striking shields.
You destroyed a Borg assimilator before it could escape. Well done.
Resistance will be annihilated.
Observe how I didn't have a shield offline available for Cube Alpha, which results in a much longer time to kill. Once both tactical cubes are destroyed, the TFO ends.
The stitching network is now operational. Sealing the vortex now.
Captain, if this breakdown helped you in your quest to play Stow better, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. The link to the specific build used for this tutorial is in the description. For more guides and builds, check us out at www.stobetter.com.